Hey everyone, welcome back to Stadium Stats. Today we're going to be taking a look at every team left in the NFL playoffs going into the divisional round and power ranking those teams 1 through 8 as there are only 8 teams left. So, hope you guys enjoyed the wild card round. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And follow me on all of my socials as it really goes a long way in helping me make this content. I post podcast content on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, as well as short form clips from my podcast on YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter/X, Facebook, and Instagram. So make sure to give me a follow on all of those. Links will be in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Starting off at number 8, I have the San Francisco 49ers, who are just too injured. That is their problem. They might have Fred Warner coming back. He's potentially going to come back within the next round or two of the playoffs, as the 49ers have officially opened his practice window and have activated him, so he could potentially play, and that would be a huge boost to that defense, which actually played pretty well against the Eagles, all things considered. They've been playing a lot better. They're coached really, really well. Outstanding job by Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh this year. And the real problem is just they keep losing players. They were already down a bunch of pieces. Ricky Pearsall didn't play. Trent Williams is playing through an injury. Now George Kittle tore his Achilles. They're already without Fred Warner, who might be coming back, but they're also without Nick Bosa and cannot generate any pass rush, as their defensive line is the worst left in the entire playoffs. So they have some flaws. They have some injury problems, but it's the next man up mentality that's gotten them to this point and can continue to get them throughout the playoffs. So I'm not going to rule them out. I don't think any team left in the playoffs can be ruled out of winning another playoff game. And I just think it's a bad matchup for them. And unfortunately, they have to play a team coming off a lot more rest and a lot healthier. So the 49ers injuries is what takes them down a bit, but they are a well-rounded team. Their offense can be very explosive, and they have all the pieces they need when healthy. They're just not healthy. And they're really well coached. At number 7, I've got the Rams. They had the least impressive win of anybody in the wild card round. They looked a lot more pedestrian than they had been, as Matthew Stafford was playing at an MVP level. But towards the second half of the season, he's really downgraded his play, thrown a lot more interceptions, fumbled the ball a couple times, and played a lot more close games and lost more games. It's just a few weeks ago he lost to the Rams and now barely beat the Rams in the playoffs, who were 10-point underdogs in that game. He let them come back. The Rams' defense did not look that great in that second half, especially as Bryce Young could really do a lot against them, and Bryce Young's been really inconsistent this year. I do think the Rams are a great team, have one of the highest ceilings in the league, but also have not been playing very consistently lately, and that's why they fall down to number 7, is mainly their consistency. They have all the pieces, their offense, their defense, their coaching. Their special teams isn't good, though. But outside of that, they really have everything they could possibly ask for to be a great team. They're just not consistent, and I think it's the consistency and the turnovers that could eventually be their downfall. Moving on to number 6, I have the Buffalo Bills. They had a really impressive win, as I had the Jacksonville Jaguars as one of the best teams in the playoffs and had them going quite far in the playoffs, and they were able to take them down even though the Bills were on the road. Really impressive win. Their defense really stepped up. Their run defense is their real problem, as they could not stop the run against Jacksonville until Jacksonville gave up on running for some reason, which ultimately cost them. But the Bills were giving up over 8 yards a carry. It was not a good day for their run defense, but their pass defense looked incredible, as they had 2 interceptions, including the game-sealing interception. And their pass game and run game, well, James Cook looked a little more pedestrian against the Jaguars, but they have the top rush defense in the league. And if they can go up against a team that doesn't have that good of a rush defense, we've seen what James Cook is capable of doing, and we've seen what Josh Allen is capable of doing in the playoffs, and he really put that team on his back and is able to win any game. He's definitely the best and most clutch quarterback left in the playoffs, as it doesn't have to go against anybody like a Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. This could be the year for the Bills and Josh Allen's run, but they also are not a complete team. They don't have a good run defense and ultimately do not have a ton of pass catchers. And I think those could be their downfalls unless they're able to overcome it by being carried by Josh Allen, which is also very possible and cannot be outstated. Moving on to number 5, I've got the Texans. They have the best defense without a doubt in the league. Their defensive line is unreal. They put so much pressure on Aaron Rodgers. They were able to just really hold the Steelers' offense to almost no points. Just a really, really all-around impressive performance by that defense. They're on a win streak for a reason. They have the longest win streak active, and just they play like a complete defense. Their problem is C.J. Stroud played really bad in that first playoff game, and he honestly got bailed out by their defense. And so if he has another poor game where he's turning the ball over and just can't complete easy passes that he normally would complete, I do see them losing, because C.J. Stroud, they need from him is to be a game manager, especially if they keep that running game going, which they actually found against a good Steelers rush defense. If they can keep that running game going behind Woody Marks and Nick Chubb, I think they can go pretty far, especially behind that defense that's just unstoppable with an unstoppable defensive line. And so I do think the Texans have the best defense left. I also think they have the worst offense left. So it's really hard to say where this team could go, because defense can win championships, but only when your offense isn't letting your defense down. And it seemed like the offense was against the Steelers. Let's see what they can do against other teams in the playoffs. Moving on to number 4, I've got the Bears. They just find ways to win. It's crazy. They're in at number 4 mainly because of how clutch they are, how well coached they are, how clutch Caleb Williams has been, how amazing he's been in the second half, and just how well they've been doing with coaching adjustments. That first half against the Packers, they looked horrendous on offense. They looked horrendous on defense. Their defense led up 3 straight touchdown drives. Their offense only scored 3 points. And then the second half was totally different. And Dennis Allen made a ton of defensive coaching adjustments and only let up 6 points in the entire second half compared to the 21 of the first half. And the offense made a ton of adjustments as well, as Ben Johnson was calling different plays in the second half. Caleb Williams played on a whole nother level, setting some franchise records for playoffs, for overall quarterback play. He also now has the record for the most amount of comeback wins in the fourth quarter while trailing in a season for any team ever in NFL history, with 7 this season. Unbelievable for the Bears. They find ways to come back in any scenario. You really just can't count them out. They do have inconsistencies, especially on defense, as they really are a bend but don't break defense. They let up a lot of yards, but they were also forcing a lot more 3-and-outs and a lot more turnover on downs in that second half against the Packers, who just couldn't get all of much going on offense against that Bears defense. So if they can continue to adjust, if they can continue to force turnovers, which they really didn't do a great job against the Packers, as they forced multiple fumbles, but they didn't recover any of them. And the Packers recovered all 4 of their own fumbles. So if they can force more turnovers, and if they can play more consistently on offense and play a complete game, there's no stopping this Bears team. It's just a question of, can they beat themselves through the first half like they continue to do and keep putting themselves in a deficit, because eventually that may catch up to them. It also might not. I don't think anyone saw them coming back from an 18-point deficit against the Packers, and it was a really impressive win. But it's not a winning formula. And so if they keep doing that, eventually it will catch up to them in the playoffs. But who knows? They could turn that around too. They really have all the potential in the world. So I am going to put the Bears at number 4, just based on how clutch they've been and while they're inconsistent, just their ceiling is so high. Moving on to number 3, I've got the Broncos. Their defense is elite. They also have the clutchness of coming back on offense in the fourth quarter. They've really been able to do that time and time again, especially with Bo Nix's help. Their defense, as I said, is elite. It's just they lead the league in sacks. They force turnovers. They don't let up a ton of points. It's a really impressive team, very well-rounded team, very well-coached team, and they're playing at home for the entirety of the AFC playoffs, so which gives them the home field advantage, and especially an advantage because Denver has an altitude change that other teams have to adjust to, in addition to the weather. So I do think the Broncos can go very far. It's just a question of their lack of playoff experience. They haven't won a playoff game yet because they were on bye, and they have a tough first matchup against the Bills. So I also wouldn't be surprised if they lost in their first playoff game, but they also just look like such a complete team and a team that can come back from anything that I really can't count them out, and that's why they're in at number 3. And number 2, I've got the Patriots. They look very well-rounded outside of their O-line, which let Drake May get sacked quite a lot against the Chargers. But outside of that, they're very complete. Their offense looked not great against the Chargers, but also had some huge sparks at points in that game. And the Chargers defense is elite. So It's not surprising that Drake May had a worse game, especially for the first half, but he adjusted well, had a great second half, great touchdown pass to Hunter Henry. The run game looked great, and their defense looked absolutely dominant. Tons of sacks on Justin Herbert, tons of pressure, tons of they didn't really let up points. They only let up 3 points the whole game. Just a really well-rounded performance. Great coaching by Mike Vrabel. There's a reason he's in the Coach of the Year candidates. And ultimately, this team, the sky's the limit. As long as Drake May continues playing at the level he's been playing throughout most of the season and the defense can keep stepping up, it's really just a question of their O-line, and that is it. And finally, at number 1, I've got the Seahawks. They are the most complete team. They have the highest potential in the league. Their defense is one of the best, if not the best, in the whole league. It doesn't let up many points at all. It absolutely shut the 49ers down in Week 18, who they're now going up against again. They're home and have the advantage of weather and the 12s, which is their home field crowd, both to their advantage. And ultimately, they don't have a lot of weaknesses outside of the occasional turnover from Sam Darnold and inconsistencies from Sam Darnold. He is their only question mark, though, going into the playoff run, as they're coached really well, their defense is elite, and the run game has looked amazing lately. So there's not a ton of downsides, and if Sam Darnold can play consistent or at least be a game manager, the sky's the limit for this team. They could win the whole damn thing. I do think they are a really good team, and they ultimately just do not want to run into the 49ers and Rams, their division rivals, as that ultimately is the most likely scenarios of them losing a game. But we saw what they did to the 49ers just a few weeks ago, and they were coming off rest, so I think that all benefits them even more so. And they come in at number 1. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think down in the comment section below of my list. What are your thoughts? Where would you rank each team? Don't forget to follow me on all of my socials as I post long-form podcast content on my social media platforms on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, as well as short-form clips from my podcasts on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter /X, Facebook, and Instagram. So make sure to comment, like, and follow me on all my socials. The links are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening, and I'll catch you guys next time. Enjoy the divisional round of the playoffs. Peace.